What stage of entrepreneurship should people look at exploring co-working spaces versus fixed spaces?
If you have a budget for a year to say I afford this rent and not compromise on other aspects of my business, then at that office, is that money being put into good use? Because the last thing that you want is to reach a point where you're running out of cash flow and you're still paying for an office. It's not going to help you.
What role has Sharjah played in the success of Letswork?
Partnerships with companies like SPC, Sharjah, these guys really helped us enter the community and get people who are looking for companies like us. We are present obviously all over the UAE, and so for us to become that brand name associated with that, I think Sharjah really helped.
Welcome to Rising Sharjah. Rising Sharjah is a podcast which showcases businesses which are leading from the heart of Sharjah, which are making an impact from Sharjah in the UAE and across the world. Today we have a very interesting guest who's revolutionizing the way people work in the UAE. When you think about workspaces, you often think about working out of a specific place, but here is someone who's enabling people to work from anywhere they want. Literally, they can change their offices when they like, when they want, and I think that's how trends are shaping these days. Welcome to the podcast, Omar.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I just want to get started with the root cause over here, right? Why are people working from different places these days, Omar? What is that trend that you're seeing that people don't like working from a single place but like going to different co-working spaces? Why is that?
So if we look at the UAE, people are now taking remote working as a way of basic work. People love to remote work nowadays. In Sharjah, for example, you have 4 days 4 days work week. So what this does is it opens up a new sphere where people can, have a better work-life balance as opposed to the typical 9 to 5 every day. And I think now managers or CEOs are also more open to trusting their employees to work remotely. But with that comes obviously responsibility and where you work from. Is it a productive space? And then globally, obviously, I think after COVID, where we were all trapped at home, a lot of tools came out that helped us to stay productive and I would say more efficient. Do you need to be in the office 24/7 to get the work done? Probably not. There's a lot of distractions as well in the office. You speak to a lot of people. I think there's a couple of hours in the day that are just lost with socializing is important, but I think if you really want to stay productive, sometimes, sitting down in a space that can be your own, or as people call it, a third space. So not your home, not your office, but what is that third space that you can stay in and you can be productive? And I think it's important for people to understand that that kind of gives them the fluidity to live their lives, but also achieve their career goals.
I want to point out something which you just said, people are of two chains of thoughts, right? Some people, they prefer having their team members coming and working from office spaces, whereas some people are adopting a hybrid model, whereas some days they're working from office, some days work from home, and some people are just remote first. They're like, we will only do remote work. We'll build entire teams around remote. And I want to probably take some examples also, right? Like, let's take some examples of the extreme. Elon Musk, he told that if you don't come to the office, consider your job goodbye. I want everyone to be here, right here in the office and work from the office. Why do people like Elon Musk make such statements like that?
I think there's no, one size fits all. Yeah. And I think it comes down to the culture of the company. Every company needs a strong culture to be successful. Otherwise, you're just a group of people, especially for startups or smaller companies. You just end up having your employees joining, leaving, and no one really knows, what the mission is or what we're building towards. I guess in Elon's, thought process, they're building rockets to send to space, and for that, it requires a lot of hard work, a lot of time, and for him, I think there's a lot of top secret stuff, I'm sure. In my opinion, I think having everyone there working at the same time in the same place leads to that kind of achievement or mission. And then you take another company like Letswork, for example. We're very big advocates on remote working, but not to the extreme. We like hybrid working too. We actually don't have an office of our own, but it is important to meet up in different spaces. We meet up around 3 times per week, and then the rest you can either work from home or work from. I have my favorite spaces. My co-founder has his favorite spaces. So get that time alone, finish your calls, or do what you need to do. And then, like you said, there are like fully remote companies.
Yes.
And those are, I think, companies that hire globally and want to grow globally. We have a team based out of Pakistan, and we have spaces in Pakistan with the Letswork app, so that they can work from those spaces too. And I think it really depends on the culture of the company. Having remote employees and making sure that they are, I guess, like a close-knit team is really important. Otherwise, it could be hard to grow your company or have that employee feel like they're part of something also.
Now we were also discussing about the industry you're involved in, right? Like how you mentioned about SpaceX being top secret government stuff. So hence it makes sense to all be in the same room, right? But let's look at something which may not be that secret, like let's look at the other example over here, say like video editing, right? We are shooting a podcast right now. Imagine a group of video editors are there, right? It's said, and this is something that I came across recently, if all video editors are like working out of one space, they have seen that the churn, employees leaving the organization is not as much. Whereas in comparison to a company which has video editors but in different areas across, why do you think this exists?
Early on, we had to do video editing, me and Hamza. We didn't have anyone to do that. It's a lengthy job, and like kudos to the guys that are probably going to do this one. But I think it is because it's hours spent looking at footage to get those little moments. I don't know. I think it could be a lonely job, and having people around you, you can kind of pass the time while working on that. Again, we are human at the end of the day. We crave an interaction. I can't go 2 days without leaving my house and just working on my laptop. I need to see people. I need to work around people, even if they're not my team specifically. I think just interacting with people is super important. Especially here, we're not a very pedestrian style country, right? We don't walk around. We don't have those places where you bump into random people, except for malls and cafes and hotels. So I think having that human-to-human interaction is probably reducing the churn for them. And then again, there's this, we worked with a consultant company, and for them, and I think there was an article about this too, where they said for someone to join in a consultant role, a lot of it matters on like the boss seeing you or the team seeing you to see the work that you're doing. Because at the end of the day, imagine they're putting together a project. You could have done like very minimal stuff on that project, but maybe your, the things that you added to the conversation, the things you added on the calls, maybe that was a lot, but just because they don't see you, they don't know who you are or how much work you've been putting in.
Correct.
You don't get recognized for that. So maybe just having everyone around, you have level work, I guess you're all in one room working together. It does make a difference.
We have evaluated different businesses so far, right? And but let's look at the other extreme. Now let's look at it from a person who's just starting their business, we discussed about people like Elon who has the funds, like he can deploy millions and millions of dollars. But what about that entrepreneur from Sharjah who's just getting started, right? I think that particular person may not have the funds to start the business. And I love co-working spaces because it's able to solve the problem for the new entrepreneur who's just getting started. Because as a new entrepreneur, you need to be focusing on what is that core problem that you are solving for your customers, right? Whatever business that you're building through. And do you really need an office space to solve it when you're getting started?
No, I think definitely not. I think an office space is, unless you really need it for licensing purposes or for your bank, which is the regulation here in the UAE, I think that's the last thing you should worry about. I think starting something new, you need to basically have a pool of resources that you can ask questions to. What I mean by that is, imagine you're an enterprise company, which has a procurement team. Anything you need, if you need a consultant to help you build whatever you need it to build, you have to find those people, right? And if you don't have that pool of that network of people, you're stuck trying to figure out something that could take someone 2 seconds or 2 minutes.
Correct.
And you're right. I think being in those environments, Sharjah has a lot. I think the really amazing thing about Sharjah is their bridge between, let's say, I'm very familiar with AUS and Shira. That bridge between those two is incredible. You can literally have a project or your last year's project turn into a business, and I've seen it firsthand with a bunch of the startups in Shira. And then on top of that, just the ease of licensing, the amount of free zones that are around, the banks that work with you also. There's definitely some sort of ecosystem enabler. And I think it's not just one person, it's a lot of different entities working together for the bigger picture to basically say, you know what, let's push these people, let's push these entrepreneurs. And I won't say young. I've seen people leave their jobs after 10 years to start something, and they've been successful also. But there's a way, and there's a, I guess, like a path that's already been kind of etched out for these entrepreneurs in Sharjah that they can kind of make use of.
When you look at companies like Shera, organizations like Shera, they have a lot of companies which are incubated. I even remember seeing your own company's profile. I saw Letswork across Shera. Yeah. How is Letswork listed in one of Shera's websites?
Yeah, long journey. I think we, the chairwoman, Najla Al Midfa.
No.
So she was CEO at the time, and she actually just came to us and we had a conversation. Me and Hamza were kind of new in Dubai, so we didn't know. We just moved to Dubai. We just moved to the UAE, first time in the ecosystem, and we managed to meet Najla, and she's the one who told us about Shira, and she said you should come visit. We have, I think, the first proper meeting we had with them. We got accepted into this weekend accelerator with a growth hacking team from Amsterdam. Until today, we still have the notes from that. This was in 2017 or 2018, I believe. And from that, we've reached a point where now we actually list Shira spaces. So on Letswork, you can buy credits and work from the Shira co-working space.
Okay.
So yeah, it was first, we learned from them, and now we're kind of partnered together. And the Entrepreneurship Festival every year is amazing. We always love going there. You see all the old and new faces, and they bring some really good speakers. I think this year they're bringing Wim Hof and Thierry Henry, which is crazy. You never think you'd get to see these guys, but they're coming now.
Yeah, I mean, Sharjah Entrepreneurship Festival is one of the key festivals in Sharjah. And coming back to the topic which we were discussing over here, you said that how, we were discussing about how office is not, getting an office is not probably the best thing that a new entrepreneur should look at getting, because that puts you in a lot of fixed costs, right? You get a recurring fixed cost every month, where you're not sure that will the business take off? Mm-hmm. Will the business not take off? So at what point, do you recommend fixed working spaces at all? And if yes, at what stage of entrepreneurship should people look at exploring co-working spaces versus fixed spaces?
I think if you have I talk about culture a lot, but if your company has that culture where you need everyone to be in the same place, you have a mission that you want to launch in the next year, and you have the cash flow, I think that's the most important. If you have a budget for a year to say, can afford this rent and not compromise on other aspects of my business, then by all means, get that office. I know a lot of fintechs need an office for
regulatory purpose,
and also legitimate. You want to see like, okay, I'm putting money into this company. Where are they? People forget about that. And I'm not saying like I'm against the office. I think offices are quite cool. You can go to some really cool offices, and I think it has. I used to work at Emar, and the office used to be in downtown, and that there was a lot of energy in there that transpires into your own work also. But I think again, for the starting up entrepreneur, I guess the solo founder or two co-founders.
Or even freelancers.
Right? Is it really, really worth your time? You should be very scrappy in the beginning. Your focus is basically to get that one customer, then get 10 customers, then make sure those 10 customers rebuy your service or product.
Correct.
And is an office going to help you do that? If yes, then by all means get an office. If not, that, I guess, 10,000 or 8,000 dirhams or 15,000 dirhams, what could it help you in? Getting an employee to help you with marketing?
Probably equipment,
SEO, Google ads or Facebook ads, which will actually result into getting more customers. That's how we think, at least at Letswork. Whenever we make a decision, our end goal is basically to increase our number of users and number of spaces. Is that money being put into good use? Because the last thing that you want is to reach a point where you're running out of cash flow, and you're still paying for an office. It's not going to help you. And also, you're going to be growing. You're going to get an office for your two founders. If you're successful, you're going to hire like 2 or 3 more people, hopefully by the end of the year. Or that space is basically irrelevant now because you're not going to cram everyone in. So I think it's just too much. It's like you moving into a new city and immediately buying an apartment. It's like, I don't know how long I'm going to be here for.
Correct.
Let me focus on something. And when it feels right, when it feels a bit more stable, then by all means, if you have the cash, do it.
I love what you just said. As a person who's just starting a new business, you have no idea how your business is going to go, how it's going to turn out. Like maybe you and your co-founder, or just you are starting off. You don't know if 1 year down the line, it's going to be 10 employees, going to be 5 employees, or maybe if it's a 500 employee company. There's no way you can project. Yes, you can have goals. You can say that I'm going to achieve set goals, but buying a 500 person seat office in the start would not make sense when it's just you, right?
It's amazing if you can predict that, right?
But I think as a new entrepreneur, just co-working spaces are more safer, they're more flexible. And I think even to the point where you said that, will it actually help you get customers? Like maybe when you need to meet with customers in person, that's when you can probably look at getting a co-working space and then use the services and then probably work from home, like leverage whatever works. Or probably even what's another trend that I have been observing these days is people can work from home, but they still prefer working from co-working spaces because the distractions are lesser in a co-working space. It's also, I think, the vibe, right? Like, when you see people who are working around you, I think it just helps. It helps do that work. You may not feel that at home. At home, you could just get a bit distracted.
Fridge is there, your bed is there, TV's here.
Correct. Even like adding to your point, which you said earlier, like if you're in an office space, also there are people who so. You could just be talking with them. You could be discussing about anything and everything except work. So sometimes co-working spaces also come. I think this will be a great point, Omar, for you to share how you and Hamza, your co-founder, actually got started.
We have a very unique start. We both of us were actually working at Emar. The chairman wanted to basically create a venture studio within Emar's portfolio. And basically, we were tasked with creating a company or a startup that synergizes with Emar's core competencies, whether it's real estate, commercial leasing, hospitality, malls. Emar does
a lot of things.
Does a lot of things. And we essentially said, commercial leasing seems interesting. The year that we were looking at it was the year they launched the freelancer license. So it kind of clicked, okay, we have massive offices in our inventory, but it's not suitable for that one person. And at the same time, the Rove Hotels was just picking up. And that was essentially our first partner. We said, you know what? You have this massive, beautiful all-day dining space that me and Hamza used to actually work at most of the time. And we said, this could be the home of these freelancers and these like entrepreneurs. What can we do to enable it? What can we do to make sure that this is their office? And we know these guys are always client-facing, so how can we give them more than one office? Luckily for us, the Roves had, I think, four hotels back then. Nice. Now I think they're at like 10 or 11, which is amazing. That team is just another success story of Dubai. And so then we quickly saw that people want a service like this, a monthly subscription, so that they don't have to think, and they get these little pilot offices everywhere. At the time, there weren't that many co-working spaces in the UAE, so our focus was cafes and hotels. Fast forward to today, there's a lot of beautiful co-working spaces, and now we have a mix of all. I like working from cafes personally. I like the vibe, I like the music, the coffee's amazing. And you get to, people watch while you work as well, which is like something I think stimulates your mind instead of staring at like a blank wall. And our shift has been quite interesting also. We always knew from the beginning that we're a B2C company, but with aspirations of becoming a B2B company. And, alhamdulillah, like in the last year or two, I would say, our product has matured and our customer base has changed as well. We have a lot more of these companies that want to do an offsite at one point. And then you have another company that's like, hey, I'm just coming to the UAE. I don't want an office. I'll just get one for the license. They want the team to live in Sharjah and be able to remote work across the city. And vice versa for people who are trying to expand into Saudi Arabia. We help the team expand into Jordan. These are like full companies. And for us, it's a lot easier. Back then, we used to take customer surveys to say, where do you live? Where do you want our spaces to? Where do you have any spaces you would like us to partner with? Whereas now it's much more tactical. We have 60 employees looking to launch in Amman, Jordan. These are the areas, and it's super easy for us. We just kind of add them onto our platform, give them access, and it's good to go.
Perfect. Starting off with Emaar is a great journey. I love how you identified a problem that. You combine different aspects of Emaar's businesses and built a co-working space. I think you saw spaces which weren't being utilized much, and how can we help? It's matching supply and demand, right? Like I think these people who are coming into UAE, they're looking for, like you said, there are many people coming into UAE and they want places for a short period of time, and there are places which are lying vacant which need people regular basis. So just by matching the right set of people and by probably building a tech platform like how you built Letswork is a tech platform where you have put across these multiple co-working spaces across different portions of the UAE and different countries also. Like I don't think you just operate out of the UAE.
No, we're in UAE, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Portugal and Spain.
Yeah, so even when UAE entrepreneurs from Sharjah are going to these places, I think your membership allows them to...
Yeah, you can go to any space.
Any of the space, and experience the working culture over that.
It's funny you say we're a tech platform. Yeah. Going back to your office question, we launched just with WhatsApp. Yeah. Me and Hamza were managing one WhatsApp number, and we were communicating with the supply and demand, and it was very chaotic, but it was enough for us to reach that point where we had, let's say, 20 customers, 20 venues, 1,000 customers. Then we said, okay, we need something to do it.
No, it's also smart, right? I think, I have been to co-working spaces. Like, for example, what do you need to provide in co-working spaces? You need to provide, say, water. You need to provide, say, coffee. You provide Wi-Fi. Like, and if you get the right mix along with the atmosphere and the vibe, like you mentioned, like sometimes like coffee helps, sometimes music helps. Light music, you set up that vibe, and people would automatically come and they would work. This is pretty crazy. I want to understand, what role has Sharjah played in the success of Letswork?
I think the initial kind of I guess let's say partnership was the free zones. I think the free zones made it a lot easier for people to start and stay quite lean. And it was very easy to get started with the multiple free zones that exist in Sharjah. And then for us, we relied a lot on organic marketing. We didn't really spend much on marketing. And I think partnerships with companies like SPC, Shara, these guys really helped us enter the community and get I guess people who are looking for companies like us. And we are present obviously all over the UAE. And I think having that kind of access for people from Dubai to go to Sharjah and vice versa, for them to go to Abu Dhabi also. Not having an office sometimes can be a big pain. You end up going to a random coffee shop that might not be the best. And so for us to become that brand name associated with that, I think Sharjah really helped with us. We also did a couple of pitches around the AUS. We met some of the first few founders that started companies out of AUS also. And then we hired quite a bit from AUS also. I think we had a couple of students from Sharjah, which was nice. It was good they understand the city. They basically grew up there, so they know it probably better than us. And they helped us kind of grow our from a supply side.
Beautiful. And let's get more into the business side of things. Co-working spaces now, you have competitors as well, right? Like there are other companies also who are into co-working. How are you differentiating yourself among your competitors in the UAE?
I think we do three things that are different. Firstly, our portfolio of spaces is super diverse. I think globally, all companies that have done similar things to Letswork have either just focused on hospitality, so cafes and hotels, or co-working. We, after a very long time, have managed to make sure that the quality across all is the same, and that's allowed us to attract diverse users as well. Not everyone, like I said, likes to work from a co-working space, but the productivity of working in a space like that is more professional, and I guess it kind of fits in with what's it called, efficient remote working, we'll say. But the cafes and hotels, in my opinion, is where the real ideas come out, the real collaboration, and for us to kind of put an umbrella over it is quite interesting. We also through and through, flexibility is our motto. Yeah. We really live by flexibility, and
we really do. I mean, I would have been very surprised if you, as a co-working company, had a fixed office.
we never have an office. We've never had an office.
It's perfect. Like, you stand by what the company is promoting, and that's exactly, you do live by what you say.
We have to, we have to, and I think it helps you also as a company. You have, if you have employees that have never used the app, then what's the point in building it, right? We also, I think, the flexibility, the point I was trying to make was we want our team users now. It's our new product. It's Letswork for Teams. We basically made a team wallet for them, and then you can go and someone can go to a coffee shop, someone can go to a co-working space. Nice. Everyone can come together and work from one space. I think we're really happy with what we've built. And the third thing would be, I think there's another side to our business that I think people don't really see, which is you have hotels. I don't know if you've ever booked a meeting room in a hotel, And I don't know if you've ever been through that process, but it is quite lengthy. They have to give you a request for proposal. You send it back, give them the ID, pay the money. Sometimes you pay after the event or whatever you have. And we built this to support our own customers. They wanted to book meeting rooms.
Quick process to book meeting rooms.
And it's been so quick that the hotels are like, actually, can we have something like this on our website also? Which we didn't think was going to be a product in the end. We spent a lot of time building it. COVID was actually when things were a bit quiet for the first 2-3 months. And so I took the developers. I was like, guys, okay, we're going to build a booking engine for meeting rooms.
Amazing.
And now hotels are using it to manage their own bookings. So you can't really see that it's not us, but it is.
So it's a white label solution which you have kind of created.
Exactly, yeah, white label solution for hotels to do meeting room booking.
Oh, beautiful. And it's with their branding and perfect. That's amazing. And one thing that I would love to know from your side is I think, and this was also discussed in this podcast, is about building that culture in the company. Even when you are co-working, how do you build that culture?
We've been through a lot of iterations. We used to have a weekly catch up with, I guess, the core business team, let's say, where we would always look at, let's say, the one metric that matters. And that kind of was also in correlation with our values as a company. And I think that it worked for a bit, but it was just very, being data driven is good. But then you miss the bigger picture. We're looking at, okay, sales in the UAE and then sales but we're not actually building something. So we took a step back and now we do monthly town halls. And every monthly town hall begins with Hamza, who would repeat the values of what we are as Letswork, what we're trying to build. And I think having that and having everyone on the same page at least once a month is super important to basically take a step back from the day-to-day work and just say, guys, this, in case you forgot, this is what we're doing. We're building this. We're not building your one feature on the product. That feature on the app should result to the bigger picture that we're trying to achieve. And I think one thing that we have had since the beginning is open communication channels across the company. We use Slack for just communication. I can't even tell you the amount of channels we just have for ideas where people just drop a link of something they've seen, a picture of a workspace that they're like, oh, this looks cool, we should have it. And I think having that open channel of, even if it's not your responsibility or if it's not your job to bring in supply into Letswork, but you see something that's cool, bring it in. That for us is okay, now we know this guy's or this girl's part of the Letswork culture. They're here for a while. Nice. And I think just fostering that really does kind of incentivize them to build that, again, back to that mission that we want to do.
Perfect. So for the entrepreneurs, so have at least a meeting once a month with all your team members present, where you walk down your mission statement as well as showcase the bigger picture in comparison to what that individual team member is doing. What is it all leading up to? It's beautiful. And I think this will be a good time to close this particular episode. I think I would like you to share that one biggest learning for you in your entrepreneurship journey, which would help a younger you, if you can go back to your younger self and be this is that one big learning across my years in entrepreneurship, what would that be?
Good question. I think today, compared to when we first started, is a lot easier to get something ready. When I think of an entrepreneurship, I always think of having a product or a service that can autonomously give someone a service or a product, right? So for us, one guy told me that if you can make money while you sleep, this is our first, I guess, software developer company. If you can make money while you sleep, you've basically cracked the code.
Exactly.
And I still agree to that side, but if you can make money and not lose money while you sleep, then it's another thing. I think in 2018 up until 2022, there was this ideology of burn and earn, where you just burn money and you grow your users or whatever, and you'll be profitable later. Right. But once you reach a point where your company is profitable, still a startup, really good unit economics, that's when you really have like superpowers, let's say, because they're like, okay, we can basically do anything we want now. We don't really need to backtrack to what we were doing on Google Ads or whatever. It's working. People are talking about your product. And the best way to achieve that, so that one piece of advice is stay lean when you start. And I think I sound like a broken record the amount of times I've said this. Stay lean and really, really listen to what your customer needs. If you have, let's say, only 10 customers in a month, you should literally be calling them, not every day, but you should know who they are and what they want. There's a reason they bought your product or service. If you can retain them, then you've cracked the code, and you just extrapolate, you just grow organically. So stay lean and count money when you sleep, I think. is my comment.
Thank you so much for sharing that. This has been quite informative. And thank you for accepting our invitation to come on Rising Sharjah and sharing all your insights. It's been beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us at Rising Sharjah. We had so much to learn today from Letswork and how the founders of Letswork have built this amazing company. Do listen to all the advice that was shared within this podcast. And if you're a new entrepreneur starting out, do explore co-working spaces. They give you that option to start with minimal risk. And you never know how your company is going to go. Is it going to become a 500-member company? Is it going to become a 10-member company? But just don't make risky decisions in the start. And getting an office space when you're not very sure of the business idea, or when you don't have that repeated customers coming in, is a risky decision. So go with your gut and listen to what your business is telling you, and listen to everything that's been said in this podcast. Visit us at risingsharjah.com for more access to resources like this to get your business started, and see you in the next episode.